My son Connor was diagnosed with a type of bone cancer called osteosarcoma. Like every parent, complete shock, all of a sudden you're like, I can't believe these words are happening. And so that went on for 2 years. We were here at Brenner's for about 9 months. Connor was metastatic at diagnosis, which means it had already spread to a couple different places. So it got to the point where I think we were just a little much for what Brenner's could do for us. And we ended up going to Cleveland Clinic to see a specialist. I think he was so young. I don't know that he processed everything. Like, he knew he had to have treatment. He knew it sucked. He knew that chemo was not fun. He didn't like being at the hospital, and obviously we traveled a lot, so no school. He never went back to school again, couldn't do sports, really couldn't see his friends that much. But when we weren't at the hospital and we were home, we tried to not use the word cancer. And so, we would still try to do fun stuff as much as we could. We would go out for dinner when his counts were okay. We were always going to the science center because it was outside and we could stay away from people. Every cancer parent I talk to, they talk about kids being courageous and warriors, and they are, but it's just kind of like, I know they know they have to do it, right? Like, what's the choice? I can't say no to this. I know I just have to suck it up and do it. So amazingly, they're much better than adults, I can tell you that. What I think would have us on the floor just in agony, like, why me, why me? The kids never say that. Connor never said that. The other kids I've met, it's never, why me? This shouldn't be happening to me. It just is what it is. That was huge for us. It was one of those, the first weekend we went in for chemo, Connor never really had, again, he was 9. He didn't have a phone, he didn't have a tablet. He had like a little leapfrog thing that he could play games on. But my husband gave him his tablet that he used for work and his kind of like noise canceling headphones. And right from the beginning, we realized that was the thing, because Connor didn't want to hear certain things, right? And so when he didn't want to hear anything or he didn't want to be bothered, he had those headphones on. So the minute we walked into clinic, whether it was a regular visit to get blood work, whether we were being checked in for inpatient, the residents were coming in for the 10th time that day, asking you the same questions, he just put on the headphones. And that was his way to saying to the world, don't mess with me. I don't want to answer your questions. I don't want to hear what you're going to say. I'm disengaging. And he could game and he could talk to his friends that way. Through video games, they could play online. And so his friends were in his ear, even if they weren't physically with him. And that was a way for him to stay connected. And I definitely think that that's what got us through treatment, that and pet therapy. Scary as hell. I mean, and I thought about that this morning too when I was driving down here. You go this whole time you're in treatment, so for us, almost 2 years. And even though you're doing your research and you're staying up at night, I mean, that was Connor and I saying he was in the hospital and I was researching everything, right? I'm no MD, I'm not an RN, but I was bound to determine I was gonna, figure something out. And then you have these doctors and you have experts. I mean, I have rad-oncs and pharmacists, and everybody was there all the time. And then it's just like they say, okay, now you go home. And you're going home for like the worst part. I don't know what to expect. What comes next? What are his symptoms? What's gonna happen? How do I control the pain? Like, all these thoughts are racing through your head because you've seen how bad cancer is, and there were experts there to help you. And now they're just sending you home. And yeah, I can't even put into words what that feels like, And that's like when Donna and them walked in that first day, it was a sigh of relief to some extent. Like, okay, I still have a team. They may not, I can't push the button and they come running, but I can call. And there's my hotline number. And I had that taped all over the house and everybody knew what to do. And so it was definitely a relief. And it was hopeful. It was, we're here to help you. If you're going to get him ready for this clinical trial you're talking about, we are right there with you. If you change your mind, we're right there with you. Never once did they question that I was still trying to fight. Never once did they say, don't give up. I mean, they were with me 100%. No matter what my philosophy or attitude was, Donna was right there. She's like, we will get him on that clinical trial if that's what you want. I am with you. And she never stopped believing in us. you tread lightly, but just, I think, letting them see that I'm still standing and I can get out of bed. And if you want to, you can live with your grief and you can still have joy, a lot of joy, you know? And I think at the beginning, you don't think that's possible. And it is a conscious decision. You have to make that decision, but you absolutely can still have joy. I was shocked to find out that there's very few pediatric or, children hospice services available around the country. It's kind of like you see St. Jude's commercials, right? So you think, oh, kids get cancer, they're fine. That's what I thought. That's not the reality. So then when Connor was in hospice care and it was so great, I just assumed that's what everybody got. But then you talk to parents all over the country after, and that's not the case. And some of them have horror stories. And you think you live with the guilt and the grief for years, and then you throw that on top of it. Kids Path gave me, it was a blessing at the end. They were there for us, and I got to be with my son, and they helped me when he was in pain, and we got to die at home. And so many other families, they just have so much burden based, on top of everything else they feel, because that wasn't an option for them. Kids Path is the greatest blessing that I think that we have had. Even with as great as our treatment was and all the people that helped us, I can't imagine if my child died and I didn't have Kids Path.